Hi, everybody. It's Claire Church and Pete Lewis. I don't know what number this is of our Muse talks, but we've been interviewing a different musician every day. A couple of venue owners who are posting them one day at a time. So you probably understand that there are musicians, there's our cat. There are musicians that have lost all of their income. Um, not all the musicians we interviewed have lost all of their income. Some of them teach, but a substantial portion of their income. And so this is a way for us to check in on our musician friends, make sure they're okay, ask them how they're doing. And of course, you can donate either to the Muse or to the musicians or both. That's our fancy sign, just like they do on
this will
Jimmy
be
Fallon.
in the video.
Yeah, she's getting to hit some editing chops going here. So pretty soon, it's going to be George Lucas production values here. Anyway, so today we have our friend Annie Booth, and I first got to know Annie a little bit. I think you played with our son Pat in college briefly, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then we played together, I don't know, various times we sort of popped up together. Did we ever play together when I was a saxophone player, or did you miss that era?
We did, yeah. We did something at the governor's mansion.
Oh, yeah.
Like
that was
2010, maybe, something like that. 2011.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was you and
fun.
Who else was on that gig? It was all women, wasn't
it? It was Jill. Yeah, Jill Fredrickson on drums, and I think Leela Simon on bass was right before she moved to LA.
Okay. Gosh, I almost forgot about that. But yeah, it was a great gig. Okay, so anyway, in case you were wondering, this is Annie Booth. We've already started. And I think what we love is if you could just play us a tune to start off so everybody can hear what you're doing.
Sure, yeah. I'll play, let's see, maybe I'll play one of my original compositions. This is a tune I wrote for my sisters, Emily and Kate, and it's called Three Sisters Waltz.
think I had the pleasure of playing that with you a couple of times.
I'm pretty sure we did it maybe the last couple gigs that we did.
Yeah.
What a nice gift to your sisters.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really like writing songs for people. I think it's a really
I do too.
beautiful way of sharing like something that a gift that I have, and being, and it also helps, I think, writing too, because you have someone in mind, or you have a special memory in mind.
So I know Pete's wants a lot to say things, but I wanted to share with you that one of my all-time favorite tunes, if anybody's written, is Jolly Beach.
Oh, thank you.
It's a great tune.
Thank you. It was one of those tunes that just came out really naturally. It just like, just happened, and it's one of my favorite tunes too that I've written. So
I'm assuming people can get that tune on the usual places, Spotify, iTunes, and everything else.
Yeah, totally. And I actually have that tune in particular, I have for sale, like the lead sheet for sale on my website, and then also the big band chart for sale.
Oh, really?
Score, just a steady score. Yeah. So that's been a fun one to, I don't know, a lot of friends and students and stuff like that have been wanting to have the lead sheet to it. So I figured I'd put it up there.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, I'll let Pete ask you some questions.
Why don't you get in the screen here? Hey, so how did you get started? We know Dave Wisk well, and was he your band director or just a friend, or?
Yeah, he's been a family friend for a number of years. He was actually my little siblings, who are 3 years younger than me. He was their band director. And then my mom taught at the same school, the same middle school, Rocky Top Middle School. So, which was a brand new school. And so I didn't go there for middle school, but Dave has become like a really great family friend and has been a mentor of mine throughout, especially when I was in high school and, getting ready to think about studying music in college, and then even throughout. And now it's lovely. I get to see him at like, high school jazz band festivals that I'm now a clinician at, and that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I said he told me that you started on clarinet. Is that?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I started on piano as maybe a 7 or 8 year old, and all my siblings, I have 3 siblings, 2 sisters and 1 brother. We all took piano lessons, and then I started clarinet in 6th grade, and it was actually with the hopes of playing saxophone. My school had kind of that archaic, I don't know if it still exists or if it is archaic, but you had to play clarinet before you could play saxophone. Yeah. So I really wanted to play saxophone in 7th grade, so I started clarinet. But then what ended up happening is when I got to play saxophone, I played tenor sax in the jazz band for like 2 months, and they needed someone to play on piano. And I had been playing piano, and I thought, okay, well, whatever. I'm not really that into the saxophone anyway. So then I switched over to the piano, and I just loved it. And it was kind of, I found my thing, because I didn't necessarily enjoy the piano lessons that I was taking. I kind of had quit them, and I just didn't like the structure. I wasn't really interested in playing like classical music or getting better at the piano. But when I found jazz and started listening to jazz, then I kind of caught my stride. I loved being able to make things up and kind of be myself within the context. So that's kind of how I started my journey with jazz, was definitely in the public school system, and I'm really grateful for that. I had, a great band director, Larry Pinnell, who's a great trumpeter as well, and he was just amazing, set me on a great course, and I played clarinet all the way through middle school and high school, and then I actually played when I was at CU as an undergraduate, just played in the ensembles, the symphonic band. And that's been fun. That's one thing during this quarantine time. I bought some reeds recently, and like getting back into it. So,
really?
Yeah, that's one of my goals, is to kind of, I never really learned how to improvise on the clarinet, because I always just played, symphonic music or classical music on the clarinet. So that's kind of one of my goals, is to get some of the language that I know on the piano happening in that realm on the clarinet.
That's cool. So did you have a mentor back, like when you're in high school getting into jazz piano? Did you have someone to kind of guide you?
Yeah, there was a couple folks. So there's a folk. So I grew up in like the Westminster area, North Denver suburbs, and there was a guy up there, Paul Snell, who was a choir director for a long time, and a great pianist. And he was initially my first jazz piano teacher, and he did so much for me. We kind of like I learned how to read a lead sheet and like how to create voicings with him, and he really turned me on to a lot of the local musicians too. This is before I joined the Colorado Conservatory for the Jazz Arts as a 15-year-old. He was the one who told me to check out Eric Gunnison and check out Jeff Jenkins, because he knew these guys. He was really tuned into the jazz scene here. And then when in high school, I learned what CCJA was. A fellow pianist, I saw another piano player play with the All-State Jazz Band, and I was like, what's going on? How did you learn this music like this? And he's like, oh, you got to check out CCJA. So I did, and then from there, I got a lot of mentors who are still my mentors, like folks like I mentioned, Jeff Jenkins and Paul Romaine and all those guys who teach within CCJA. And then especially in high school, a big mentor of mine was Pat Bianchi, great organist and pianist who used to live here in Denver. Now is doing so many amazing things in New York and all over the world. And I used to study with him in high school, and he really set a great foundation for me too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, what are some of your projects now? I know you have a big band project. You're getting your master's degree, or
yeah.
Yeah,
finishing up a master's this semester online for the rest of it.
Yeah. And so have you been focusing mostly on big band, or is that just a thing for now, and do you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, I love it. I've been focusing a lot on big band writing the past couple years, especially since I started the master's degree at CU Boulder. And I've been studying with Paul McKee, who's an incredible arranger, incredible composer. So it's been great to kind of pick his brain on a regular basis and learn a lot. And I've just kind of been like hooked on it recently, because it's such a challenge. It's like, all of a sudden coloring with, instead of 12 crayons, you have like the 64 pack, and you get all these different colors and textures. And I'm doing a lot of score study, learning about, the techniques that various idols of mine use and have used. So that's been fun. And I launched my big band a few months ago, and that's been, a cool project. That's kind of the biggest thing that I'm kind of missing right now is that that group of people in that project, just because it was just kind of getting off the ground running. So going to be writing a lot for that. And then another big project that I've been doing the past few years is a chamber jazz piece that I wrote called Flowers of Evil, and I premiered that in 2018. It's a piece of chamber, I call it chamber jazz because it really kind of lives between the two worlds of these genres. And it's based on the poetry of 19th century French poet Charles Baudelaire, which, if you're familiar with his poetry, is very dark. It's very beautiful, but it's weird for sure. So I studied French in college and have spoke French for a long time. And so I always wanted to do some kind of song cycle with that. And we premiere that in Boulder. You can check it out. Actually, it's on my YouTube channel, the video from the live video from the premiere. So that is on the docket to be recorded this year. So we'll see, when I can get that happening, because some of the folks live in different parts of the country. So it'll be kind of a thing getting it together. But it's a 10-piece group with strings and brass and everything. So that's kind of my next thing, is editing all those charts and, writing maybe 2 more movements, so I have a full album's worth.
I bet that's fun with the different textures, with incorporating strings and probably the different types of woodwinds. I know John was involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
he played all those so well.
Yeah, I learned a lot from writing, specifically the challenge of writing strings within a jazz context, because, when you have saxophones and brass and, drums, it's like, I just learned a lot about timbre and texture and how you can make things pop, and how you can treat certain things with the strings and different pairings. It was a really fun experience, and I'm just excited to kind of dig in deeper and edit these charts and kind of get them ready for a recording.
That sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
So how are you doing just daily right now under the quarantine? All of a sudden no gigs. Are you hanging in there? Do you have some type of daily structure, or and you mentioned you just moved, so I'm sure that took up a lot of time and energy, but are you doing okay?
Yeah, doing okay, all things considered. Yeah. We my fiance and I just moved to a new house, so will eventually be my music basement once I get it kind of all set up. But so that definitely was kind of a nice distraction in some ways to have just because moving is just a pain in the butt normally. So it was just to take up kind of all my time thinking about that. So I actually haven't been doing like a ton of music stuff because that kind of took up a lot of my time. So I feel like I'm just now starting to realize that I need some kind of structure. I haven't really been using a structure the past few days, this past week since we've been in our new place. And I realize that that's something I need because, just kind of flailing. And, to be honest, there's been a lot of times that I haven't felt like doing music stuff. Like I haven't really like, I haven't done any like live streaming of myself. I haven't, sent a recording to a friend to record over. I just haven't felt that yet.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I will. And it is inspiring to see so many people, just diving right in and being like, no, we got to keep the music going. But I've created some little ideas for myself. I like to create like little challenges for myself to get myself composing and practicing. And so, I've written like a list of kind of commissions for myself, just little tunes, little things like idea starters for songs. And then, I like to write little 4-part chorales. So I'm going to do that every day.
Nice.
And then I have some transcribing that I want to do. So I'll dive into that, but I'm just kind of giving myself the space right now to kind of settle in and, been reading a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and I see this time as people have more flexibility in their schedules. So if that's what's going to be helpful for you, then that's great. Maybe just pull back from the music a little bit and like you say, read. And plus you just moved and stuff. And I've talked to some people who are like diving into their instruments and like, I'm just going to work on tone. I haven't been working on tone or my technique for a long time, So it changes for everybody. So do you see this just as a kind of a blip in the radar, or is it going to be permanently changed, in 3 or 4 months? Or do you see it as just kind of this downtime, and then we're going to go back to things as normal? Have you thought about that?
I have. I get kind of a little bit, I don't know, like anxious and nervous when I think about how like this might fundamentally change everything for live music specifically, just to be in my own kind of like world, and the way that, our live music so much is so dependent on gatherings of people. So I am, I'm hopeful that this is just kind of a blip, but I also have a hard time imagining that like in, 6 weeks or whatever, just I get to go back to my normal weekly gigs and, the stuff. I've already had a lot of huge summer things canceled, and that's a bummer. Like I'd be lying if I said I wasn't really upset, and it's no one's fault. That's the thing, is you just have to kind of accept it. And so it's been, and that's definitely been a lesson. It's just kind of an acceptance and not worrying about the future, planning for the future as much as I can, but then there's so much that we can't control, and there's so much that we don't know, what it's going to be like. So yeah, it's definitely weird.
Yeah, I think what you said is really helpful, because you have to accept like the unknown, but then keep yourself going and motivated. I guess for my hope is that once we get out of this and it's going to take a while for things to stabilize, like for example, Nocturne, or, to get people back in, get some income going in. But I think musicians will be hired again, and maybe we'll get, more people out, because they're going to like, oh man, I didn't realize how much I was sitting at home watching Netflix. I should have been out, listening to Annie play or whoever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With
totally.
people and hear music. And so maybe it'll be an increase of people and going out to hear music and appreciating it more.
I think so. It does. It has been a period of kind of appreciating, like realizing the things that you take for granted.
Yeah.
Even like I even feel that myself, like, I just was in such a busy period of my life the past few months. And that's partially why it feels so weird to just have it come to a screeching halt. But I even feel like, oh man, I should have been checking out like more live music, because I was just so busy. It was like, I don't have time to go. And of course, going to see some shows and stuff when I can, but I just feel like, I should have done that a little bit more before this happened. So yeah, I think we'll all, kind of come out of it with a newfound sense of gratitude.
Can you play one more tune before we sign off?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll play something. I'm trying to think what I should do. I didn't.
You could just
thought
play a
about it.
standard.
putting you on the
You
spot.
could improvise the whole thing if you want to.
Okay, yeah, I'll just play a standard.
There you go.
Yay!
All right.
Are we first audience in a while?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Other than my cats and my
Oh,
music. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Claire. Do you have something?
Just we've been asking people, do you have anything to, say to everybody? Any words of wisdom or?
Yeah, I just think that everyone just has to take care of themselves, however that looks and manifests for you. So if, I just think don't feel like you have to be productive during this time. Don't feel like you have to be moving around and, and answering deadlines and even like, don't feel like you have to be connecting. Do whatever feels right for you. And if that means connecting with other folks and being productive, then that's great. But yeah, I think just everyone needs to take care of themselves, however is best for themselves.
That's
Beautiful.
great.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you guys. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.